On this episode of Resi Week, we talk CDS Strong, wartime versus peacetime, and helping people work from home. All this and more on this episode of Resi Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.
This is Resi Week, episode 219, War and Peace.
Support for AV Nation is brought to you by Chief, the global leader in commercial AV mounting solutions.
Hey, welcome to Resi Week. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And today I'm pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. We've got Mark Corbin. He is the president of Vanco. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And then we have Ian Bryant. He is the Vice President of Technology, Applications, and Workforce over at CEDIA. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen, both for being here in the midst of our work from home quarantine. And as you can imagine, that will be somewhat the highlight of today's show to some degree. We're going to talk about a couple of things. First off, just before we jump into the stories, I do want to, again, thank everyone who participated in the work from home conference that we did last week for the residential sector, as well as all the guests, all the presenters, all the people that worked for us or with us as AV Nation to put this on, our whole team for that. That was a fantastic event. I really enjoyed not only being a part of it, but also just watching the community come together. So thank you all for that. Now let's jump into something that broke on Friday. This comes to us from CE Pro. CEDIA is rolling out CEDIA Strong, an initiative in response to the coronavirus. Essentially what this is it's a couple of things. It's a community kind of initiative. Ian, correct me if I screw any of this up, as I'm sure you were briefed. But it's a bit of a community building initiative, as well as a sweeping array of tools and services to not only empower, educate, and inspire the industry during these times. So there's obviously, read through the article, there's some really good points. I do want to highlight a couple of the initiatives before we jump into it. CEDIA has enlisted the services of some financial advisors to share their expertise with members in weekly sessions. There is a resource center that features financial, legal, and regulatory information for CEDIA members across the globe. You heard that right, not just U.S. specific. That's a big tip of my hat as a Canadian, as well as everybody else around the globe. There is some new career planning resources available. CEDIA has waived all of their fees on their current online training so that your members and your technicians can hone up on skills during downtime and all that fun stuff. They are also hosting regional roundtables, as well as having some CEDIA Strong marketing assets that are available to you if you want to do some marketing. One of the things that is not a footnote, but it's kind of a footnote at the moment, i.e. It's not set up and running at the moment per se, but there's also going to be a CEDIA Strong fund to provide financial assistance to members in need. They are going to be accepting donations later this year and hopefully awarding grants to individuals and businesses sometime in 2021. So Ian, since you've got the banner behind you, it seems apropos to come to you first. Sorry, Mark, you just have ships. I like the ships, but this one kind of fits really well to start off with Ian for. So Ian, first of all, congratulations. This is a fantastic initiative. I love seeing this kind of stuff come together. What started the conversation, if you can speak to that internally, and how did you go about kind of developing those, 5 or 6 key elements of this CEDIA Strong initiative?
So we started, say maybe 3 or so weeks ago when we started rolling out the online education and the webinars, which we're doing twice a week that are free, and doubling up on the podcast. And we thought that that's not enough. We've got to do more. What else can we do? So we, loaded up the COVID Resource Center, which is on the website, started with the US and then branched out to the UK, Australia, Canada, India, and Mexico. and just really felt like this is the time when the association can do what we're here to do, which is support not just the membership, but support the industry. So it was really thought with leading with Tabitha, our CEO, and some of the other senior management team on what can we provide our members at their greatest time of need. Right now, we're still dealing with the pandemic, but shortly after that wraps up, we're going to start dealing with the economic downturn of what the effects are. And so not just having the resources for COVID, but going into the financial advice, the career center, the regional roundtables, the webinars that everything just is trying to get as much information and get as much support to the members and the industry as a whole right now as we could.
Yeah, very good. Mark, when you see this and stuff like this, obviously there's been a couple of companies that have started their own thing. Last week we talked about One Vision Resources. They had started a database for COVID resources and things like that. In our AV Nations Learn from Home event last week, we talked about it in a couple of different ways, including our wrap-up keynote where we talked about the financial impact and aspect and how specifically U.S. companies can take advantage of things. How important is it for CEDIA as kind of the governing body and the association that brings us all together to kind of be leading the way in to date the largest consortium of information that's out there? What does that say to the members? What does that say to the community? And how do you see this being perceived from just your regular run-of-the-mill integrator?
Sure. Considering we do a lot with CEDIA, obviously that's a huge show for us, and we do a lot of marketing as well. Vanco, relies on CEDIA every year to help us with supporting marketing and bringing integrators to us that we haven't even met. And I think what it really shows, and you touched on 2 points, and Ian really touched on them. The training, the fact that the training the fees are being waived. I think, Matt, we've talked multiple times before even on how big training can be, and it can even be a form of selling. So at the same time, when you're waiving fees for training and learning equipment that usually requires some kind of cost up front, or even a lot more time than usual, you have those abilities. So opening up that training is absolutely huge, and I think it shows to every single member that they do care, and it's important. It's extremely important to keep people up to date and advised on what's going on. The other key thing I thought that was really unique in what they're doing is the marketing aspect. This is a time that marketing is really important, right? And it has to be extremely strategic, especially even for us. You can't send out too much, but you can't send out, too little. And there's a fine line in between. And I think being able to have a source to help them with marketing, integrators, and so forth, marketing is huge. It gives them the ability to, it's during a downtime, but can I get myself out there? Can I get myself out there to other people maybe we've even done business with, and can they help us market to them? I think it's great. I think it's a great initiative, and it shows a lot of dedication to any member and any vendor too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for watching the first segment of this week's episode. To catch the entire show, please click the link below or visit avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.